evening, Warriors. Oh, sorry. Let's try that again. Good evening, Warriors, and welcome in to a special edition of the R&R Sports Report. I think I'm Randy Isbell, and I think that's Robert Hagan. I have no idea anymore. It's been a long 3 days. Let's just say that. How's it going?
Long 3 days, and you and I have been camped out over at Harris Field and enjoying some great baseball.
Yes.
But some Mother Nature's just pissed off at us right now, I think.
Yes, today was supposed to be a rest day. We were talking about Sunday being where we just do the show. We're still doing it. It's just going to be an hour long. It's mostly going to be about the World Series. We'll touch on some other stuff if we have some time just to fill the hour. I don't have the energy for 2 hours at all.
And both of us have to be back early in the morning. So
we have had 8 games over 3 days. It was supposed to be 8 games over 2 days. And then today, again, was supposed to be the rest day. I've worked 7 of them over 2 of my different jobs. I know you were at 4 or 5.
I think I'm at 5. I think, yeah.
So
and I got 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, we've been both very, very busy. I'm still waiting to know about the Tribune. I'm calling the first 2 for the radio. I have the 2 loser out games, and then we will see what Dawn wants me to do as far as Lewis and Tribune goes. My guess would be the 3rd game, but who knows? We will see. So as we've mentioned, Friday did not go as planned. The first game did. We got through the first game. We got through the first 3 innings of a great pitcher's duel, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. And then we had a 5-hour delay that started with a 30-minute lightning delay that we thought maybe that's just going to be it. And about 15 to 20 minutes after that lightning delay started, they put the tarp out there, which thankfully they did, because then the rain started coming in sideways instantly and messed things up, and we waited it out. We got that second game in. Schedules changed 7 times, which there's no one to blame for it. It's just what happens when you're trying to deal with Mother Nature and trying to get things to work. We got 4 games in yesterday somehow, even though starting an hour and a half later than the original scheduled time and going past midnight, somehow avoiding an extra innings game to make it even worse. And then today we had 2 games of Elimination Sunday baseball, which is different. And you know what? Like you said, we've had 8 games. 7 of the 8 have been close, and the one game that wasn't close, we had a dominant pitching performance. So all 8 games have been very entertaining.
Yeah, 100%. And you and I were texting. I had to work, so I didn't get over there for game 1. But as soon as that lightning hit, I know you messaged me, said we're going in lightning storm into your break, and I told you within I want to say 10 minutes after you had texted me, I said it is dumping rain here. I said it's coming your way, and it did. And so,
yeah.
But for a game, I think I heard Denny say 8 hours and. Was it 8 hours and 15 minutes total from the start of the first pitch?
Oh, that would not surprise me. Yeah, the rain delay itself was 4 hours and 58 minutes. So yeah, your timeline sounds about right.
So, and that's crazy. And then I was hanging out with you and Tatko there in the finish of game number 2, and going down, just watching how much water Harris Field was taking on. It was just crazy to see. And those umpires were trying to get that game in. The tournament committee wanted that game in as bad as they could. But hats off. I mean, Saturday, yeah, we started an hour and a half late just to give the guys time to fix the field. I know they were working on it. It started, I heard times of people were there by 5:45 and starting about 6 o'clock out there on the field. So,
and listen, it's right now. It started to sprinkle on my car as I was leaving Harris Field, so we avoided the rain today. It did rain a little bit during the LCSC game yesterday, and we are supposed to get rain in the morning. Now, obviously, different forecasts say different things. Different forecasts say different things every 20 minutes. From the last time I looked, it was supposed to be a light rain until about 10-11 a.m., and then we should be in the clear. But games are supposed to start at 8:30. And I'm saying it's supposed to be raining most of the the morning from like 2, 3 in the morning on. So how much is the field going to be able to take? How early is the field crew going to have to get there to check on things? Will we get that first game started on time? Because these games take a lot longer than the tournament committee is giving. It happens every year. You try to just set a time, and you don't want to say, hey, our last game's starting at 9 p.m. But we all know it's most likely starting at 9 p.m. And now, if we do have a bit of a delay, is that going to cause any more havoc for us?
I think so, because I looked there, talking with Megan Grubb and Bert Salzberg, Alicia Alexander right behind me in the press box today. We were trying to kind of feel out what everybody was looking at a different app, and when I was looking, it looked like rain was supposed to happen until about 11 o'clock, anywhere from 40 to 30 to 26%, I think, at 11, and then it kind of dies out. So I think that's the big one, is the first game of the day really going to happen for us, and we'll get to that first game, because it's going to be a great game coming in to tomorrow morning. And
we have talked about this bracket once it came out and how stacked it is. There's 5 different returning champions, or maybe it's more than that. Maybe is it 6 returning champions? The one team that was been here before that has not won was LSU Shreveport. So yeah, 6 teams that have won it before. LSU Shreveport, and then 3 newbies. And the newbies have all performed extremely well. They finally got their first win, and it was in a head-to-head matchup to be able to do it. But they've all put up some great performances. Let's just jump into it. So we've had 3 days of baseball. It started with your defended champions in Georgia Gwinnett as they took on first comers, Mid-American Nazarene. And like has been kind of the case in some of these games, the first 2 innings did not look like the rest of the 7 innings. As I want to say, after the first 2 innings, it was 7-2. Georgia Gwinnett looked like they were just going to roll Mid-American Nazarene. They were off and rolling. The only runs from the Pioneers was a 2-run home run by Noah Castillo. That kind of became a theme for the Pioneers and their representation of the tournament. But I give credit to the Pioneers. First time here at the World Series, defending champion. You're down by 5 quickly, and they pecked away. They got within 1, and they had the tying run at second. They just couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, listening to you call the game, it was all the way to the excuse me. The only offense was produced there was by Castillo, and I got to watch Castillo today as he played. Had 2 more big home runs today. We'll talk about that here shortly. But
he had 1 today. He had 2 on Thursday or Friday. He had one today.
One today, and that one today was a big shot too. So like you said, hats off to this team as they came in the lowest ranked team, of who was left after the opening rounds. And so I think this is a team that we're going to see back, or in those opening rounds. It's trying to get back here to Lewiston next year. So don't count them out.
Absolutely. Then we get to our second game, which became the only other game that was played on Friday. And it was billed as this great pitching matchup. And for the first 3 innings, it was that way. Vath for LSU Shreveport came as advertised. So did Elijah Johnson. We went through 3 innings, no scores. I don't think there was a hit. There was 1 hit, and we can blame that hit for starting everything. Because I can't remember who it is, and none of my websites are working right now, which is driving me absolutely nuts. But there was a base hit in the top of the 4th inning, the first hit of the game, and then the next batter was at an 0-2 count when we had the lightning strike. So I blame that we finally got a hit on ruining everything. But Elijah Johnson has struck out 4, never gave up a hit, but obviously after a 5-hour delay, you're not going to have him come back. Bellevue comes right out of the gate, hits a 2-run home run on the first batter that actually had a full count. I love that we had a batter sitting at an 0-2 count for 5 hours.
Yeah, it was Davis that homered in the 4th inning, was it not?
Yes.
That was, yeah. So, Yeah, it just crazy because that's when I was listening during my lunchtime, and just as that you had just said the first base hit of the game to last that long in, and the skies opened up. But hey, those guys coming back after so many hours, they had sent them back to their hotels, if I'm not mistaken, and
Yep.
so these guys sitting at their hotels waiting to, okay, do we play or are we not playing? And to get over there a little bit before 6, when I got over there, still wondering if things were going to happen, and
Mhm.
they were able to get it in. But God, hats off to keep it. How do you keep your mind straight? That's what I want to know. You're in there 4 hours plus, almost 5 hours. How do you keep your mind fresh, ready to get it back in there? And especially the guy at the plate,
Mhm.
0-2 count.
Yeah, it didn't work out for him. He struck out in one pitch, but then get the home run. I want to talk about Aubrey Majors and the home run he hit. He hit two of them in this game. The second one I saw land. It landed on the tennis center. The first one, if you were walking to the tennis center, you probably got hit in the head. That thing easily cleared the tennis center, and I still don't know if it's landed yet.
Yeah, it was a huge, huge hit by Major, and what that kid, I'm looking forward to seeing what tomorrow brings at that 3 o'clock game, because I get to call that one as a PA. So I'm looking forward to watching him live and in person again. Hopefully, no rain or anything like that. But
Right.
man, monster shot, and
Mhm.
he's a big boy too. But there was just both shots were no doubters, as the right fielder in both of those games just never even turned around. I'm trying to remember Connor Barnett
Mhm.
was the guy that out in right field, never turned, never looked, never took off. There was no doubt over his head.
Absolutely. So those are the two games we got on Friday. Saturday, it was not the four games that were scheduled, but we did get four games in. Well, two of them were kind of as scheduled, but we made it work. We finished off with the two games we were supposed to play on Friday that started with Faulkner against Weber International. And what can you say? Yuli Sosa, unhittable in this game. He strikes out 12. He doesn't give up a base runner until he hit a batter in the fifth inning. Doesn't give up a hit till 2 outs in the seventh. Struggled there in the ninth, so his line doesn't look as good as he gives up 2 runs in the ninth inning, but does go for the complete game, which for Faulkner is huge because the winner of this game had to play again that same day to try to keep everything in tow. So Faulkner basically playing a doubleheader against two different teams, and you have a start like that from Sosa. It's just remarkable.
Yeah, Hewley, you got 2 runs, both of them earned. 9 innings, just giving up the 4 hits, 12 strikeouts, and the one home run uh, that went off of Drake Dobinowski. And so he looked great. And he ended up playing in the later game, because I remember calling his name as he came back in.
Mm-hmm.
And so that team of Faulkner is going to be I don't want to say a tricky team, but one that's going to jump out and bite at you, especially with a leadoff guy like De La Cruz. Also, you look at Jordan Funk had a couple of big hits in
Mm-hmm.
that game too. So Faulkner's going to be tough,
Yes.
and it'll be interesting to see how Lewis Clark State College handles them tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. So Faulkner gets the win over Weber International. Weber International in their first tournament. That's a tough draw to get Faulkner, who's been here for the last 37 years. It feels like they play here during at the World Series as much as LC does. It's just, yeah, Faulkner's going to be in the tournament, and they're going to make a run, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's your first game. It's difficult. Then we got to LCSC, and they took on Westmont in our first of two battles of the Warriors in this tournament. Wasn't always pretty for LC. They didn't look super dominant. Trent Sellers, who's been fantastic all year, does get his 13th win, which ties an LC record for most wins in a season. But I think we have seen far better from Sellers, and hopefully we can see more later on in this tournament. But I just think, especially with his breaking ball pitches, he was keeping everything a bit too high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And they jumped out on him there, and constantly giving up the hits. I believe they had 7 hits, against him. But for me, looking at that game, it took the offense a while to get going. It finally to put one on the scoreboard in the 4th inning. It just seemed like they weren't quite ready, even though it was. What time did we? I forget what time we even started that game. It was like close to 2:00, was it not?
Sounds about right.
2:25, somewhere like there, when we finally got that game going. But getting him out there and finally getting some games to happen, even though it's not the scheduled time. Packed stands. I mean, that place was packed for LC, and I think that's what LC needed. They needed a little bit more fan interaction. Got that going finally. There in the 4th, and finally put up a run in the 4th. But then the 5th, that's when LC decided to turn it on, scoring 4. So I'm interested to see who Jake ends up deciding to go with tomorrow in the nightcap game against Faulkner. It'll be interesting. Does he go Chavarria? Who does he lean on for the pitching staff?
I think it's going to be Day. Dawson Day, I think, is going to be the guy on the mound on Monday night. That's just my guess. Then our next game, Faulkner returned, and they took on the number 2 seeded Tennessee Wesleyan as they finally were able to take the field. And it wasn't as dominant as Yuli Sosa, but the first 6 innings or so for J.C. Toro, nearly as unhittable as well. He struggles a bit in the 7th and gives up 3 runs, which made it a really interesting game. At that point, it was 5-3. But Faulkner, they know what to do in this tournament. Obviously, Tennessee Wesleyan is no joke as well. We had a couple of heavyweight bouts at the end of Saturday, starting with this one.
Yeah, and we went into it. I had a chance to talk to a couple of fans, one of which was a couple of Tennessee Wesleyan fans, and also sponsors and all that. And we looked at it, and we thought going in that they were going to dominate. They were sending their ace, who was 13-0 on the season, with right out of 1 ERA, 1.0 ERA, taking on JC Toro, who we figured, okay, he'll pitch good, but at 5-1, 5-2 with a 3.5 ERA, and what he did to Tennessee, shut them down. It was phenomenal to watch. And it's, anything can happen once you get to Lewiston.
Absolutely. And give credit to Faulkner. They are the 3rd team in the modern era to win 2 games in one day. Cumberland of Tennessee did it in 2010, and Lewis Clark State did it in 1992. Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes the rain really starts causing havoc. It did there. And then we got to our nightcap, which I'm proud of myself. Before the day started, I said that game's not starting till 9:00. First pitch was 9:05. And then it went on, and it went on, and it went on. Both teams took their time. We had a timeout after every pitch. It sure seemed like it, as both teams, defending champions versus the number 1 team, Georgia Gwinnett and Southeastern. Georgia Gwinnett surprised me and jumped out 6-0. And at that point, you're like, maybe they're just going to get hot again like they did last year. I think they were the 5th seed coming into that tournament and ran the table. And I just thought, all right, they're going to get hot once again and be that team that just nobody is able to figure out. But Southeastern did figure them out, scored 5 runs in an inning, got within 1, and then came back and took the lead. And those last couple innings were just insane.
Yeah, Georgia Gwinnett, we know they've got the firepower. Jumped out quick right away with 2 big home runs in the first, with Livingston Morris hitting 1, and then back-to-back with Chase Evans coming back and hitting a home run. It looked like that game was just going to be totally dominant there by Georgia Gwinnett, but the never did die Southeastern. I mean, come back, score 5 in the 5th. I feel bad, I'm curious how you and I talked how the second baseman, I'm drawing a blank,
Braxton Mcguire.
Maguire. I know it was the funny spelling Maguire. Got hurt in that game, and so we had a little bit of a pause with that too. So I have not heard anything more than other than they did take him to the hospital, get checked out. He did take a pop-up foul ball, and it went right off of his face. He had misjudged it, run it, and took it right off of his mouth, the nose area. Did not look pretty.
Instantly bloody for the second baseman, Mcguire. And then that turned into a bit of a controversy. There was like a 10-minute break trying to clean him up. Obviously, you have to get the bleeding to stop before you allow him to play. I was surprised, and we were all in the booth trying to figure it out, why they didn't just let him get pulled from the game, because you can re-enter in the NAIA. But we gave him all the time that he needed. Took about 10 minutes. And then when all of that was done, as he's going out the second, here came the head coach for Georgia Gwinnett to pull the starting pitcher, who at that time was phenomenal, and Tyler Clayton. And he gets pulled, and he is not happy about it at all. Absolutely did not want to give up the baseball. He gets pulled after this 10-minute break. Now we have another break to let Gage Williams warm up. And then Williams comes in there and instantly gives up a home run and gives up a couple more runs. And the next thing you know, it became that 6-5 score. So Eastern's able to score the 2 runs in the 7th. It was really, really interesting to see the dynamic of how Tyler Clayton took being pulled after all that time off.
Yeah, he had only given up 4 hits. Yes, he had 3 earned ones there, but 7 strikeouts. I mean, he was
great.
Dominate. Yeah, he was doing great. So I think maybe that move is kind of bit him in the butt. So I know that head coach for Georgia Gwinnett has to be questioned. Did I make the right call? But you've already given your guy enough time to get cleaned up and all that. And you see a couple of times Tyler Clayton is throwing a few pitches back there to Bates, who was behind the plate, sort of trying to stay warm. And he thought right away he's going to come back in and start. And then, I mean, how does that make the psyche of not just the pitcher, but the psyche of the team who was behind him during the whole time? All of a sudden, we're making a change after 10-minute break.
Well, I'll give the Grizzlies credit. They definitely bounced back after giving up all those runs and losing the lead. They were able to come back, tied up in the 8th inning on a bit of an error out there in left field, which allowed the runner going from second to third to go all the way around to score. But it was just one of those things that I questioned it, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. There's been multiple calls that I questioned that the coach obviously has shown that that's why he gets paid and I don't. And just this one, it didn't work out. Give full credit, though, to Rob Adams. He got lit up, back-to-back homers in the first, gave up the 4 runs in the 5th, and at that time it made it 6-0. They stuck with him, as he has been their ace. He ends up striking out 10, giving them that length that they really need. And what you need if you're going to make a run at this tournament, like you said, not using up the bullpen and saving some arms. Obviously, they had the day off today, but it's the only day off you're going to get, unless that we're down to 3 teams and it lands perfectly for you where you're going to move on to play the winner of the other 2. So saving those arms for this next week will be really, really big for the Fire. So they ended up winning that one. And that ended our Saturday/Sunday morning deal. And that was about 12:15. And that ended, we need to talk about this. We haven't gotten there yet, but how about Sam Faith? I couldn't think of Faith's first name, but Sam Faith with the big 2-run home run, 2-strike pitch that he put over the right center wall after it looked like Georgia Gwinnett, they lead off double. They're going to come out. They're going to get the win. Next thing you know, you had 2 outs in the inning, and he was at third. And he gets the big walk-off home run, our first walk-off here in Lewiston this season.
Yeah, there was a little chippiness from what we saw in the eighth inning, I think what led to this ninth inning, uh, and I think it was the starting pitcher. I'm not gonna call out numbers, kind of flexing his muscles and waving bye-bye to a Georgia Gwinnett team that is one of those teams that's not who you want to get fired up.
You
And
might see them again. I mean,
yes,
obviously Georgia Gwinnett now has to go the long way down this tournament, but they're a fantastic team. And there was a bit of chippiness. Obviously, these two teams I think have played each other before this year, and you get that energy going, especially as we're hitting the midnight time. Shout out to anybody from their hometowns that stuck around at 3 in the morning, their local times, and listened in and finished off that game. I was told that on our audio stream, we still had 35 listeners when we went off the air on Saturday night, Sunday morning, listening to Mike and Danner do that game. So then we came to today, which again, we usually don't have these games on Sunday. It's supposed to be a day of rest. I really need it. But we had two really, really good games as Bellevue defeated Mid America Nazarene in the first game 9-7. What did you think of this one?
Bellevue Mid America today was 5-4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have the what?
But yeah, it was
They
5
have
to
it
4.
9-7 on this stupid thing. The only thing I can't get to load. So yeah, go ahead. For
Yeah, it
whatever
was
reason, they put 9-7 on this.
Yeah, 5-4. And you were up calling that game on the radio, and I had the chance to sit and just kind of be a fan and take it in, sitting with some of the Westmont crowd that was getting ready to play. But Noah Castilla, let me tell you, that boy can hit the ball a long way. Like I said, Nazarene had a chance to come back, and they made it quite interesting coming into the final inning. They're 2 on there, but unbelievable baseball from both of these guys, and it was a battle. Nobody got out to a huge lead whatsoever, and they were able to both teams just stay right there. It was great to watch. I forget how do you pronounce the guy's name, the winning pitcher, Alexandra. What's up? Celestino, and he goes 6 1/3 and gives up 6 hits. So, I mean, like you were saying, it's what they needed to do to keep arms fresh. And so, highly impressed with both ball clubs in this one. And this game could have went either way at any point. I think the biggest thing for me, and I was telling our buddy Jay Durham, who was sitting there watching the game, it all boiled down, I think, to the balk call in the first inning. It boils back down to that. If that balk is not called in the first inning, and the batter had, and I forget who it was that had popped it up out into the foul territory near the first base dugout. So they replay it. The very next pitch, he gets a base hit to the right side, scores there. And that one run is that one, there was other runs that scored after, but if that run doesn't score, we go extra innings here, I think, in this ball game.
Honestly, I mean, that ball call, yes, it gives up a run, but that was the first inning. There was so much that went on after that. To me, it was the other balk call that happened in the 8th inning. So you had a runner at second. They called the balk on the pitcher, which moved him to third, and that allowed Bellevue to play small ball. And they went for the suicide squeeze, and it worked out beautifully as it went just under the hand of the pitcher who wanted to try to flip it home. That scores the run to give them that 2-run lead. Then when Joey Calameo came in as a pinch hitter and hit the home run to left field, it didn't tie the game. It made it a 1-run game in the 8th inning. So there were 2 huge balk calls in that game. Both of them were correctly called. And like you said, I mean, both of them ended up helping score a run. And Salesio, who struggled in the first inning, gave up 3 straight hits, gave up a run, gave up one of the 2 runs that his offense had given him in the first. After that, he gave up 2 solo home runs, but never allowed a base runner until the 8th inning and just completely shut down Mid-America Nazarene. So Bellevue moves on. That was a really, really good game. as well. And then we had just another fantastic pitcher's duel that I just got done writing about as Weber International finally gets their first win. One of these two teams is going to get their first NAIA World Series win. Again, a battle of the Warriors. And you start out the bottom of the first inning, and again, it just looks like completely different. You get a single, a walk, a single, and a single, and all of a sudden it's 2-0 Weber International. There's still nobody out.
Mm-hmm.
Give credit to Heacock, who then got out of the inning without giving up another run. And then we never saw another run the whole rest of the game. Just both of those two pitchers and the two relievers we saw completely shut down, nearly unhittable.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot in the press boxes. On the other side of where you were at, you were in sitting with Denny, but the big thing that we were watching is we got into those middle innings for Weber International. They had 5 innings in a row that they were set, or actually I think it was 4, where they had shut down those 12 batters in a row. They get up in that final I want to say it was the 7th inning when they finally had a base runner back out there again.
Yeah, I think
and then got out of trouble.
He either walked or hit a batter or something in the 7th. I think it ended up being 11 in a row is what I finally counted when I was writing stuff up. But it was just absolutely phenomenal. Great pitching. Xavier Rodriguez, rarely into trouble, again with the 11 in a row there. He didn't allow a base runner to get to third until the 7th inning, and that was only because of an error that he got to third. Both he and Heacock both go over 100 pitches through their 7. Then again, we get a reliever coming in. This one totally understandable, as he's at 110 pitches, and Westmont quickly jumps on Dawson Young, as instantly he has runners at second and third, nobody out in a 2-0 game, and Young goes out there and just strikes out the next 3 to get out of that jam. And then Carlos Moreno goes out, strikes out all 3 batters he saw in the 8th. Young comes back out, strikes 2 of the 3 batters he saw in the 9th, and that's just the ball game. It was not a lot of offense, but it was a very tight, competitive game, and Weber International moves on.
Yeah, and hats off to, I had the opportunity, and you probably did too. I mean, we see a lot of different parents there and people that come up to us, and I had the opportunity to talk to mom and dad of Bradley Heacock, who was the starting pitcher for today's game. He was supposed to be the starter on Friday, and with things that got shuffled around time wise, and that they bumped him. And, we were talking about your article, you had a couple pictures of him, and in your article you talked about in Thursday's Tribune. And so we were conversing a little bit, and I asked him, I said, how does this play in his mind? And, he had the thought that, I'm playing, here we go, I'm going to be the pitcher on Friday, and I don't get the start being that guy. And so mom and dad, 100% support him, and for him to come out, throw over 100 pitchers and give up just those 2 quick runs in the first inning, and then just, you see it, he locked them down. Highly impressed with what he could do with this ball club. And we're going to see, I think, Westmont a couple more times, maybe even in the regular season for LCSC, as it's a close team.
Yeah, LCSC and Westmont, actually, that was their season opener this year. It was the same pitching matchup and everything as a season opener as it was for their first matchup here at the World Series. So we're down to 8 teams. We do lose Westmont and we lose Mid-American Nazarene. So 2 first-timers go 0-2. The last newcomer still left will be Weber International. So we look at tomorrow, and it's a jam-packed slate, as we're gonna go from 8 to 6 tomorrow. We have 2 loser out games to start. First game will be scheduled at 8:30 a.m. Again, we'll see if the weather causes any more havoc for us here. It should be the last day that we have to say this. As after that, according to the weather reports, it's supposed to get nice and sunny and in the 70s and be beautiful the rest of the way. But at 8:30 a.m., we are scheduled for Tennessee Wesleyan, the number 2 seed, against Bellevue, who is the number 5 seed. That's a great opening matchup at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, a 2, and we laughed about it. There was a chance that was going to be a 1-2 Monday morning, and so but Tennessee Wesleyan, I don't see them losing 2 in a row. I think they pick up the win against an offense of Bellevue. We talked about them last Tuesday on the show. We were excited to see LSUS take on Bellevue. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. Maybe it's time to get the bats going. I think we're going to have a few long balls in this game.
We definitely could, and it was very interesting, and I was happy with. You try to come up with crazy stats, and I try to do my best Danny Grubb impression. And last Thursday, I was going through a bunch of stats, and it actually worked out beautifully. So we're supposed to, but other than it took 2 days instead of one. But we usually have those first 4 games, which is technically the first round. The top 2 seeds get a bye into the second round. The seeding started in this tournament in 2003, and only once had the best seed in each of the first 4 matchups win. And we got it again this year. So 2016 and this year, the 3 and the 4 seeds, and then the 7 and the 8 seeds all were victorious in their opening round games. That year, also the 1 and 2 seeds won. So it was a clean sweep for top seeds for the first 6 games on the winner's side. And that year, LCSC defeated Faulkner in the championship 12-11 in one of the crazier national championship games that I can remember. So we will see what happens here. We were really, really close to having, for the first time ever, the top 2 seeds both lose in their first round games. And then on this Monday night slate, we would have had Tennessee Wesleyan, and then in the next game, have Southeastern. It would have been absolutely insane. But that is not the case. But that's a great opening game between 2 really good teams. And then your next game, Georgia Gwinnett, the defending champions, coming off that crazy game against Southeastern, going up against Weber International, who got the jitters out a little bit as they went up against Yuli Sosa that first game and only scored 2 runs, those 2 runs coming in the 9th inning. Then today, they score 2 runs again, but they do it in the first inning. And that's all they needed to move on. Very, very good story for Weber International. I don't really like their chances against the defending champions, though.
Yeah, they have played quite well. And I look forward to Georgia Gwinnett to keep going. They're going to be playing, I think, with a chip on their shoulder after how things came down against, it could have been the late night against Southeastern, and everybody just kind of tired of with a late start. But I think Georgia Gwinnett comes out and proves something. But hats off to Weber International. I see Georgia winning through on this one. But 2 great games to start the morning for Memorial Day.
And then just a incredible afternoon at Harris Field. If you live in the area and you have nothing going on, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, tomorrow late night is what I'm predicting. These 4 teams are going to put on an absolute show at 3 p.m. scheduled time. LSU Shreveport, who is still my pick to win this whole thing, will go up against the top seed Southeastern, who gave up the first 6 runs to the defending champions and came storming back to get the big walk-off. LSU Shreveport hasn't played since Friday. They used both of their stud pitchers for the 3 innings on Friday. I would expect both of them are good to go tomorrow. And one of them is definitely going to get the start. That's going to be a fantastic game between the Pilots and the Fire.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to calling this game. It's my second game that I'll get to call. But yeah. When do you ever see the 2 stud pitchers, the 1 and 2 pitchers, come out and pitch in this ball game? And I think when you get to this point, it's all hands on deck. If you're ready to go and want to take the rock, here you go. I'm going to give you the ball. I'm going to let you throw. But it might be a shorter leash, maybe. I wouldn't say near as much tomorrow, but maybe Wednesday. But maybe push the envelope a little bit tomorrow to get through that bracket. Because if you look, then if you win there, you don't play again until Tuesday night. So it'll be interesting to see, but highly impressed with LSU Shreveport. So it's going to be an interesting game between those two.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game between Shreveport and Southeastern. And then your nightcap, it's just a rivalry. We see it every year. I haven't went back and counted everything just yet, but Lewis Clark State College and Faulkner. And how many times have we seen it over the years? We're going to see it again. It's scheduled for 6:30. We'll probably see it about 8:30, 9 o'clock. It'll probably reach around that midnight time. Don Walden of the Tribune is probably going to pull out what little he has no hair. He's a bald man, but he will find hair on the top of his head to pull out as we wait for the game to end, like we did on Saturday night, so we can get the paper out. I'm very excited, and the way Faulkner's playing, we're both from the LC Valley. We're both Warrior supporters. We have both watched several of their games this year. You cannot take Faulkner lightly at all.
Yeah, you look at their record, 39-15 on the season. That 39-15 is very, it's very. I don't know how. Yes, I'm trying to think of that word because that is not the Faulkner we know, and we know what they're capable of when they make it to Lewiston. Once they make it to Lewiston, it's a whole different story. And to this afternoon, they had a nice little scouting trip. I don't know if you noticed that, as they were circling around with their honorary coaches up in the airplanes and the helicopters. Hillcrest Aviation is the honorary coach, as Faulkner. You know, those boys are going to be rested. They're going to be ready to play. It's going to be a knockdown drag out, I think, with this ball club.
Oh yeah, they started out rough this year. Talking to their coach after their first win on Saturday, he was telling me they have over a dozen new faces on this club, and it took them a little bit to gel, and they're definitely gelling now. Obviously, maybe the Warriors can take advantage of the fact that this will be their third game in the tournament. LC's only played the one so far, but again, you cannot take Faulkner lightly at all, and that'll be a fantastic game. We got 4 really, really good games tomorrow. Again, we're going to go from 8 to 6. And then from there, we'll have 3 games on Tuesday and so on and so forth throughout the tournament until we're down to 1 team. And my question to you, before we move on to touching up on the rest of the sports world real quick, before we finish off this condensed version of the R&R Sports Report, who's winning it all, sir?
You know, I have not got to watch LSU other than where they ended up there the other night. Got to watch Weber International.
Yes, exactly. Taco wants to know too. I've put my stake in the ground.
Listen, I think after last night, I think Georgia Gwinnett has some beef, and they're going to come out firing, especially if they're coming back in through the bottom. Georgia Gwinnett wants to go back to back. It's not going to be a pretty back to back, but give me Georgia Gwinnett. They're going to make it back to the finals
and win it.
I think so.
Oregon. What is this? What is happening? This is the crap that we've had to deal with in this booth this whole time. Is some of these snide comments from Denny Grubb. He's been trying to make me crack on the radio for 3 days, and he's nearly got me a couple times.
I did. You did hear that I made Mike Tatko crack yesterday afternoon.
No, Tatko's a professional. You would never get him to crack.
Yes. You know how we do it. No runs, no hits, no runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left on, baby. Right? But that's not how it happened. From what I was told. So, and that's coming from the Miss Grubb. You're welcome, Mike. I appreciate you. I appreciate you filling in.
No, we're having a good time, and I'm very much enjoying myself. I've covered 7 of the 8 games, whether it has been with KOZE or the Tribune. I gotta watch the Georgia Gwinnett Southeastern game as just a fan and had a good time. I did go down to the field after that game and field some interviews to help Colton as he was writing that story, if you want to call it that. So we're having a great time up there. I'll be up there calling the first 2 games with Brian Danner, the 2 loser out games, and then you're going to have Chatco and Danner for those 2 phenomenal games. I'm sure I'm covering one for the Tribune. We will see. Don's still trying to figure out who's available for when. Maybe I can just sit back as a fan again and watch these last 2 games and have a very, very good time. But we will see, and we will see where everything falls out. When we come back a week from Tuesday, we'll be able to tell you all about the tournament and where it all landed and how right we were. I can guarantee you Denny Grubb's prediction of Eastern Oregon is incorrect. That's all I can tell you. Real quick, let's hit Major League Baseball. And all I will say is I've watched very little Major League Baseball as I have lived at Ayers Field for the last few days. I know my Yankees took 2 of 3 from Denny Grubb's Orioles and then took the first 2 against Eric Watkins' Rays, but then gave both of them back in the last 2 days. That's as far as I know. But my top 5 real quick, and we're not going to spend too much time on them, but Houston will still be 5. They've kind of been going back and forth a little bit. The Mets are at 4, still worried about their pitching staff with Scherzer getting injured, but they're still finding ways to win. They were playing Sunday Night Baseball. I don't know where they ended up. Brewers have been on a bit of a roll. I really like that team in the NL Central, so I'll have them too. Yankees had a pretty pedestrian week, but that pitching staff is insane right now. Just some of the stats that I have seen from that starting rotation is incredible. And of course, the Dodgers at number 1.
Yeah, I moved the Dodgers up to number 1 this year. Dropped your Yankees down just a bit with my picks. I do move Milwaukee in to the top 5 now. I'm putting up at the number 3 spot. The Mets are going to be dealing with a little bit of injury as they didn't play near as well as I thought this week against Philly and all that. Just as I got home, turned on the TV, Drew Smith gets hit with a ball as he was trying to make a play with his bare hand to try to keep the ball to the infield. And just as you see it happen, he dislocates his finger pretty gnarly. So we'll see how that goes out. But and then I'm going to keep Houston there. Houston has played quite well. They're still leading in the AL East. Mariners lose to Houston today, but Mariners have a couple of good games against Houston. But great ball club, Houston, what they're doing right now. So I'm going to keep them right there.
All right, how about your bottom 3?
My bottom 3, I'm not going to change the Reds yet. I think they're still that team that is not going anywhere. They need to figure something out. I do have 2 new teams at the bottom. I'm going to put Kansas City at 29 and Washington, who's looking to, I think that with the reports I'm hearing, they're trying to get rid of Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a trade sometime within the next 2 weeks for Juan Soto.
I think it'll be closer to the deadline as teams start to get a bit more desperate and the price tag goes up just a little bit. I'm actually going to make a big change. The Cincinnati Reds are not my 30th team anymore.
Uh-oh.
They've been showing a bit of fight. So I'm going to move them up 1 spot, give them the 29th spot. Right now, they're currently a half game out behind Kansas City for the worst record in the league. So Kansas City, you've been horrible. You've only scored 176 runs. I'm going to move them to number 30. I'll put you know what? I'm not going to put Cincinnati at 29 either. Because Detroit is averaging like a half a run a game. It's not that bad, but they've only scored 125 runs. They're only like a game and a half over Cincinnati. So I'm going to go Kansas City 30. I'm going to go Detroit 29. And I'm going to go Cincinnati 28. And I'm telling you right now, Seattle is like that 27th, 26th team. I really wanted to put them 28, but I put them 5th, and they tanked. And I'm so afraid that I'm going to put them 28 and spark something, and they're going to start winning. And I just don't want to do that right now.
Listen, I'm okay with that. That would be awesome. Go ahead and put them 28, and we will shoot the ladder, and we'll make a run for it here.
Gross. Real quick on some other sports. because there's other things going on.
Isn't there a
And
game? I was just saying, isn't there a
we'll get
game
to the game
7?
7 right now because I'm actually going to go turn it on. It's gotten pretty close. We got 9 minutes left. They've got like 9 minutes left, but you know how that goes in basketball. They got plenty of time. Western Conference Finals in hockey are set. It'll be Colorado Avalanche against the Edmonton Oilers. The Eastern Conference still a little bit to go. Lightning swept the Panthers, and they'll be waiting on the winner of tomorrow's Game 7, which Game 7 in hockey far superior to Game 7 in the NBA. But it's the Hurricanes and the Rangers. Who do you got there?
I'm going to lean the Rangers. I hope they can.
No, you got to break this down. I need to
No.
who's the best players, who's the best goalie here. What do you got?
The Rangers.
Okay.
That's the best we got. I mean, I forget who we were talking to in the press box there on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sam Burns. Sam, yes. Sam's up there, huge hockey man, and
he'll have the game on tomorrow for sure.
Oh, he'll have the game on tomorrow. So, and he's a Ranger fan. I'm gonna follow.
Well, he's gonna hate me if he ever hears this, but it's at Carolina, so give me the Hurricanes. Rangers did win Game 6, so yeah, you have to give him credit there. But give me Carolina. You did say there's a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA. Right now, the Celtics leading the Heat 86-79. There's about 9 minutes to go in that game. Winner will take on Golden State Warriors in the championship there. It's a big race night. I have not watched any of it because we've been at the ball field, but Marcus Ericsson wins the Indianapolis 500. And they also had an F1 race earlier this morning. I forget who won that. Coke 600 is going on right now. I have no idea what's happening there, but it's happening. Aussie rules football. My team was horrible. I'm so glad I decided only to watch the highlights because obviously they played at like 2 or 3 in the morning and I wasn't staying up. When I saw the score, goodness.
I haven't even looked at it yet. That was my game plan tonight as I sit down and finally relax for a few minutes, watch a little AFL. I have not seen mine to even watch highlights or not. So it'll be interesting to see where we are team-wise there.
Would you like to know?
Yeah. PGA, I know Joel Damon finished tied for 63. He does make the cut this week, shoots 6 over, but it came down to another playoff. How many times are we going to keep having playoffs? Here at the Charles playoffs.
We have this cool thing on here with this brand where we can play these video clips and stuff. I just need to add some.
We need to add him on there. But Sam Burns comes up and wins against Scotty Scheffler. Both of them shoot 9 under. So the Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth, Texas. So great tournament there. So congrats to Sam.
On the NFL side, is Lamar Jackson going to hold out?
No, he'll sign. They'll get it. They'll get things done. I know he was not at volunteer OTAs this week, but they're going to get a deal done.
Are you sure?
Yep. With Mark Andrews and what he's been saying here the last 3 weeks, he is excited for this team. I think they get a deal done here very shortly.
Also, Colin Kaepernick went and threw
with Oakland
or something.
Oakland for Las Vegas. So
put a quarter in the jar.
Ching. Sorry, Mike. we know Tatko's a fan, but yeah, do they sign him? That's going to be the question. It's going to be I just don't see that happening. I think he's too far gone. So he probably won't get another look anywhere else.
Also, I still need to watch these highlights. And I'll need to remind myself. I
see
them Oakland too.
Mike,
put a quarter in the jar. I'll bring the jar tomorrow. I won't. I'll forget. Obviously, NAIA World Series going on. College or NCAA baseball playoffs also going on. I need to watch these highlights. It was brought up by Sam at the booth yesterday. How about UCLA defeating Oregon State 25-22 in a walk-off fashion?
And I think they said it was a 5-hour game. It was what we were talking about. I think that's what Bert told us this morning was like, just over 5 hours of that game. So, and Eastern Carolina looked really good. I watched a little bit of that before I went to the ballpark today over Houston. I still don't know if they held on to their lead, but the selection show is tomorrow. So if you're not at Harris Field and you want to see Division 1 D1 stuff, selection show is tomorrow. And
apparently, UCLA scored 9 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning to come back and tie that game. Gave up a run in the top of the 8th, or top of the 10th, excuse me, and then scored 4 runs, including that 3-run home run to win the whole thing. That absolutely insane. I obviously did not get to see any of that. I still need to watch the highlights. That's what I feel like is for everything. So luckily, this counts as our show for the week, even though it's 1 hour, even though it's on a Sunday, because I'm not paying attention to basically anything other than the NAIA World Series right now. That's just about it, I think. We've made it. We've done an hour. 4 games tomorrow at the Harris Field. I'll go through those one more time. Tennessee Wesleyan will take on Bellevue. That's scheduled for 8:30. Georgia Gwinnett and Weber International scheduled for 11:30. Both of those elimination games. Then at 3 p.m. you have LSU Shreveport versus Southeastern, and at 6:30 Lewis Clark State against Faulkner. Again, start times pending, weather pending, all of the pending. But those are your 4 games. We're down to 8. We'll be down to 6 after tomorrow. And by the time we come back on a week from Tuesday, we will have a champion.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how some of these higher seeded teams come out firing tomorrow morning. Like I said, Tennessee Wesleyan is going to be coming out guns blazing. And like I said, Georgia Gwinnett's going to have a chip on their shoulder after how things finished up against Eastern. So it is going to be a great day. And if you come out, I want to say tickets are like $18, $20 for the day. Come out, say hi. There's a lot of us working. They're always needing some volunteer stuff.
Yep.
So if you don't do it this year, get signed up. See the guys, Mike Tatko, Bert Sahlberg, Alicia, Brooke. They're always looking for something, but just come out and say hi. Enjoy the day. That's the biggest thing that I can tell you guys. And enjoy these teams because these teams are unbelievable.
And being able to talk to several of these coaches, you can just tell how into it they are. We've had some really good crowds there. Some of the numbers, that's not going to blow your doors off. 400 people, but compared to what we had last year with the seating restrictions and the 110-degree weather, it's so nice to see everybody came out. We had over 3,000 people for the LC game on Saturday. We'll see what happens with the late game against Faulkner tomorrow, but it's been a great atmosphere and I want that to continue. But for now, I'm dead ass tired. I know you're dead ass tired. Tatko probably isn't because that man is never tired. I know Danner is either already drinking or has gone to bed. It's one of the two, depending on what mood he went in at the end of that last game. But either way,
and
I think we'll be back tomorrow. Yes.
And I think Denny probably just stopped at Arby's to treat his daughter before she heads back to Seattle.
Denny was debating taking a nap before or after doing all the stats. Yeah, exactly. Let's play now. I know. Taco's not even doing the first 2 games, and I guarantee you I shake his hand at 9 in the morning. He's just going to show up, and he's going to be ready to go. That's just how good Taco is. But I'm going to get some damn rest. I'm going to go watch the rest of this basketball. It's going to be the only NBA I watch all season, and I'll probably fall asleep to it while I wait for Haley to finish up her 9-pin no-tap league. Stats done. See? Denny, you can go take a nap. He's made it. This is what happens when you have 2 jabronis with a radio show and you have 2 professionals that are listening in. This is what happens. We've made it an hour. I can't do anymore. I'm out of here. Robert,
Later.
Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you tomorrow. That's it. Denny, Mike, see you tomorrow.